Brothers and sisters, may the peace that can only come from the one God be upon you. We are here to tell the people that we hear you. One God will not allow us as people of conscience to lose our morale.
Powered by our patrons.
Strange mood of our time.
You call that radio?
Makes coherent sense.
Good evening and welcome to You Call That Radio. How's your weekend been? I hope everyone's all right. We have Carla J. Easton on the show tonight. Absolute honour to have her on the show, so we'll get to her in a little minute. I just thought before we started, I just wanted to say a shout out to the friends, the family members and fans of Denny Oliver from Scheme, who passed away today. Sorry, the funeral was today, and it was amazing to see such a crowd appear at Glasgow Barrowlands and wave him off to in his final journey. Scheme means a lot to me. What they did in the 80s and ever since then it's not going to be matched. A very important band and an amazing guy. And we will have Scheme, hopefully some of the band members of Scheme, and have a proper tribute show in the next week or so. We are working on it, so we'll save everything else for then. But I just thought, just to get us, we've got to play a song from Scheme to start the show. So this is going to be Time, and it's dedicated to the friends, family, and fans of Denny Oliver.
See the children play. It's just another day on. 24 hours in one. It's just another day on. Time goes by. Taking away. Some minutes seem a lifetime. This is my first today. Time goes by. Taking away. Taking away. With the past goodbye. This is my first today. It will never be this time again. Never be this time again. You don't know how much you got, might not be alive. Time goes by. Ticking away. This is my first today. It will never be this time again. Never be this time again. You don't know how much you got, might not be alive. might not be a lot. It'll never be this time again. Never be this time again. You don't know how much you got. Might not be a lot. That was a regular lifetime.
Strange mood of our time.
You call that radio?
Here to tell the people that we hear you. One God will not allow.
You call that radio.
However you want to see it.
You call that radio?
However you want to say it, that's kind of part of the fun.
Powered by our patrons.
Brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters.
And that was Time by Scheme. The only way to start the day. Proud of Glasgow today. And RIP Denny. We'll do a Scheme tribute show properly another time. But tonight, it's Tuesday night. We have the amazing Carla J. Easton. Carla, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you very well. It sounds like you've actually got one of those real microphones.
I'm trying my best.
It's amazing. Thanks for joining us, and I really appreciate it. Let's just start. The first question. You were called ETTE, and then suddenly you became Carla J. Easton. Now, I'm assuming that you were Carla J. Easton before. So what changed?
Yeah, always. Well, when I put out the album Homemade Lemonade, I wasn't sure if I wanted people to know it was me. So I came up with the name ETTE because I thought it was funny. Like when you put ETTE on the end of a word, you're kind of diminishing it and making it smaller. And I'm 5'3", and the album had quite big sounds. So for me, it was quite funny. And also one of my favourite bands, a band I've been researching, is an all-girl band from Edinburgh, from the late 70s called the ETTEs. So it was kind of in homage to that and my love of girl groups like the Ronettes, the Marvelettes and things like that. But
Twistettes, all girl band from Fife.
Exactly, lots of ETTEs. And then, it was in 2017. I was at a songwriting residency and working with this mentor called Russell DeCarl. And I played him some songs that would then go on to be on my album Impossible Stuff. And he said, it's time to sort of like not hide behind a moniker and just use your own name now. And I just kind of thought, I should really own up to what I'm doing. So decided to have a name change to my own name.
It's a really interesting way because I work under different aliases as well. And I always wonder if one day I will just go, no, this is my name. But I think that you've obviously found that sound where you're like, no, this is me. I don't think I've quite found that. But
it's quite hard. I mean,
was there just a feeling where it's like, you've made this? What was the moment where they just go, I've made a song, and I'm like, I agree with that. This is me. This is Carla J. Easton.
I think as well when Homemade Lemonade came out, I was working with my band TeenCanteen, and I didn't want to detract from all the hard work that we had been doing as a unit. And it's quite scary to break away from your band and kind of go it alone. So I guess using the name made it kind of still feel like a band, even though it was me. And it's about confidence and stuff. I mean, I think, gosh, I think if you're like younger, it's taken me quite a while to have confidence in what I do. But certainly, the song I played for Russell DeCarl, it was a song that went on to be on my album Impossible Stuff, called Dreamers on the Run. And he was just like, this is great, this is your sound, kind of own it and embrace it. And I think more so with Impossible Stuff, the album, than Homemade Lemonade, I kind of just let it go and didn't censor myself so much lyrically, or really think about what people were wanting or expecting from me. It was just like, what do I want to do and how do I want to express it?
Well, just before we go into your current journey, TeenCanteen, they're a massive hit. I remember, I think there was a lot of bloggers. Remember when Twitter was full of Scottish bloggers? TeenCanteen were one of the most popular bands in Scotland, in that world as well. And why did that kind of come to an end? Was it just time to start a new journey? Because he's obviously doing very well. He's had loads of critical acclaim. He's were loads of fans. Everyone loved the music. So what made that come to an end?
It's hard to know where to begin. Like, we've always said that we're just on a break right now rather than ending it. With TeenCanteen, I started that band just when I finished my Masters of Fine Art at Glasgow School of Art. And I was so excited that my best friend, Debbie Smith, was going to join the band on drums. I've known Debbie since I was 11, so it was really exciting to do music together. And Debbie actually came with me to Canada to be on my Impossible Stuff album. I really wanted her there. And when we got back, she just sort of said, I'd quite like to start a family and just take a break. I've lost the fire in my belly. And I just kind of thought, well, we could get another drummer in. We'd had various guitarists over the years, but it just didn't feel right to me to progress with TeenCanteen with Debbie not in it. To me, she was like a glue that kind of held us together. And I think, next year it'll be 5 years since our album came out. So we're already talking amongst ourselves
That's
about doing a show.
Gig. Definitely a reunion gig time. And I suppose that'll make it more special as well. And I suppose the advantage of starting with a fresh slate is that you can just create new music that people that are into TeenCanteen, they're going to follow you on your new musical journey without, messing too much with what you'd created.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, for me, TeenCanteen is really special, and I'm really proud of everything we achieved. And, we'd been asked if we wanted to reissue our album by the label that put it out, but we always had a kind of like post-punk ethos to us. So for us, it was really exciting that it was, a short run and it sold out immediately. And then it's their first special to the people that got it at the chance. And it's just, my writing's kind of changed, or I would hope progressed, because I never want to plateau. But certainly if we were doing new material with TeenCanteen, I've got probably a different way of writing. As a solo artist, you can do a song, go into the studio and do whatever you want with it. Whereas in a band, it's almost more democratic, because you're like, right, my drummer's here, my bassist, my guitarist, like, how do they all fit in this song? Whereas I feel at the moment I can choose what instruments have in songs depending on how I feel they develop or what the song actually needs.
And obviously, under a solo name, just to explain to people, so you're under a solo name, but obviously, are you playing all the instruments yourself, or are you using session musicians, or do you have a constant backup band that you use when you? I know that you play live with a band, but is it are you working with those people in the recording, or how does it work basically?
So with Impossible Stuff, I recorded the album in Canada, so it's all Canadian friends and musicians on it. So then when you come back to Scotland and the UK and you're trying to tour it and stuff, you have to call in friends. So over the last sort of 2 years, I've worked with a group of people that have become my live band. And this new album, Weirdo, is the first time where we've worked together on a recording, which is quite exciting. But similarly, I mean, there's some tracks on this album that the only person playing on it is me and my friend Scott that I co-wrote some songs with, and then my band helped me translate that into a live experience. It's all very collaborative. It's quite easy and nice, and it's people that play with me that I was a fan of their music or they were friends anyway. So although they're session musicians, it just kind of feels like a band anyway, to be honest.
It's probably quite a good
my
way.
name.
It's probably quite a good way of doing it as well, that you start your new project, you're kind of working on the ideas yourself. That's a different thing. But then when you bring it to really good musicians, they kind of get the idea, the sense of what you're actually looking for. So then they can collaborate and it's still your sound, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, they're also brilliant and really respectful of the song. Like, I mean, I just give them the song and the lyrics, and sometimes the chords are, sometimes not, and I leave it to them to interpret how that song will then be live, because I trust them, and they're brilliant musicians, and I think they understand that sometimes what you don't play is as important as what you do play. And also I think it's exciting that a live performance isn't exactly like the record, so it gives you something new and it can change with every show. And as a fan of music and a gig goer myself, that's what excites me. So I'm quite happy to just be like, yep, here we go, let's see what you come up with.
I totally agree with that as well. The idea of, you know, when you make an album in the studio, we've got so many amazing apps and technology and things we can do to make an album sound a certain way. But I think the days are gone now where you need to make that album sound exactly the same live. I'm definitely more excited as a fan to watch an album just become something else, because I think when you try and imitate the album, it's really quite hard to do unless you've got a massive budget with, you know, it's quite hard to do. So I love to see a band take an album out and just make it something different on the road.
Yeah, no, totally. And like one of my favorite bands, you know, that way when you're like 15 and you get into music at that age and it stays with you for life. Like one of the bands that I saw at 15 that stayed with me for life was the Polyphonic Spree. Now there's like anywhere between 25 or 30 of them on stage, but actually their debut album, Tim DeLaughter recorded a lot of it on his own and multi-tracked it, and then having 25 people brought it to life. And I love the fact that on record their stuff sounds almost like Disney on acid, but then live it's like this whole kind of experience, like absolutely all your senses are taken in on the ride and you want to be there. And I just love that you can have something that it's sort of recognizing recording as an art form and then performing as a different art form, but the two sort of live in this same kind of arena, if you will.
I seen Polyphonic Spree at in the park, and it did blow me away, just the very joy they were creating on stage. Kind of like, that was before I was really young, and I think it was before I'd seen anything like Arcade Fire as well, but it's that kind of same. It's also a wee bit, reminds me similar in a way of, I seen you played with the old Fruit Market with Colin Mustard, the Dijon 5 on January, and it's that community of so many people on stage that the crowd can't help have a party. What was that gig like?
That was brilliant. I mean, that's probably the biggest venue I've played as a solo artist. And I remember like me and my band were quite nervous about it because we were doing new songs as well. It's like, oh, we've not played together in ages and we're doing new songs and it's a big venue. But no, it was really good. I've always enjoyed...
And it's January. It's January. January's always a bit weird. January's always weird. The first gig of the year is always a bit extra weird.
I know, it's like nobody's drinking, but then it was the end of January, so some were breaking the rules. But no, it was really good. It was like, it felt like there was a lot of love in the room and like a good atmosphere and kind of like vibe, and so it was really great. I've always really loved Celtic Connections, to be honest. I think as a festival, especially over the last few years, it's really pushed our idea of what should be in a Celtic Connections festival, like the new Celtic is. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's true, because it's everything. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff. What we're going to talk about, the old Fruit Market, for example, what an amazing venue, and I've only been in there a couple of times because of what you know. I think Stanley Odd with an orchestra, that was incredible. We're going to maybe hear a song, an exclusive, potentially later on, including yourself and Dave Hook from Stanley Odd. And I've seen Kate Tempest at the Old Fruit Market as well, which is incredible. It's just one of those venues that just kind of doesn't get used enough for, well, things that I see. I can imagine loads of bands playing that would be amazing. Because it's got that, it feels like you're literally walking into a different era of Glasgow when you walk in there.
Oh, it's fantastic. And, you know, I'd never actually been to the Old Fruit Market until it was the summer of last year, and I went to see Spiritualized there with my big brother and David Blair. And I was so excited because I love Spiritualized, and I'd never had the chance to see them.
They never played.
So, I know. Well, I mean, it was perfection. It was just beautiful, and it was the perfect venue for it as well. Like, I know they were meant to play the bandstand, and there was sort of a confusion of why did you move it to the Old Fruit Market, but as soon as you were at that show, you were like, sonically, this is why it's moved here, because it's sublime, you know.
Yeah, I would rather see Spiritualized at the Old Fruit Market than in the bandstand. No offense to the bandstand, there's lots of bands that it doesn't work for, but just what Spiritualized do. I mean, they're one of my favourite bands of all time. I love them. And yeah, shout out to that. That would have been amazing. I'm gutted I missed that one. I'm just going to check the comments quickly, Carla, before we've got Hannah Curry says, Carla used to live in my flat.
I did, yeah.
Did you live with the bold Hannah Curry?
No, I lived with Joe and Lorenzo in Hannah's flat. We looked after Hannah's flat. We Joe and Lorenzo. All
right, okay, so she wasn't actually in the flat.
No, I think Anna was in London at that point.
Right, okay, yeah. Yeah, shouts to Hannah. She's been on the show many times. She's she's been a great guest a few times, and she's also a very important member of our pub quiz team. We do a pub quiz once a month. We've not done the pub quiz this month yet because there was a lot of controversy last month about certain things. We're not going to go into that, Carla. We're not going to make it all about me. We're not going to make it all about the pub quiz. Colin Stimes in the house. Shouts to Colin for calling a mustard. Alan Rorison's in the house.
Hello.
Raymond's in the house. Mary Veronica, great to see you. Carla J, says Mary Veronica.
Thank you.
Raymond says, remember the other night I said I thought Alan Rorison had played the boat part. It was Craig Rorison who played the boat. I wasn't far off. You were far off, Raymond. You were wrong. You were wrong. You were wrong. What I think we should do just now, Carla, is for people who are tuned in that you call that radio that might not be aware of your music, I think we should play one of your songs. Should we start with Get Lost, or should we start with... Yeah, let's start with Get Lost. So just give us a wee intro to it, and I'll get that set up.
So Get Lost came out... I can't even mind. I don't know what day it is. It came out recently. It's the first single from my latest album, Weirdo. And Get Lost was co-written with my friend Scott Patterson, who was in Sons and Daughters.
Wow, that's cool. Extra cool points for that. Okay, so we're just going to go to that just now. So let us know in the comments what you make of this song. This is the first single from the new album by Carla J. Easton. Let us know in the comments.
I was like, oh my God, he's perfect. Took a chance if it was worth it. Struck fool's gold, lit a match. Hoped a fire would catch, and it did for a while. I believed the lies you hid beneath that smile. Didn't I? You were like holding off indifferent, like a dream that doesn't make sense. Waking up, opened eyes in the dead of night, building kingdoms undercover. All you wanted was a lover in your life. So I don't think I ever knew you. Oh. And finally I think I see right through you. For who you are. And all I know is that I wasted time being naive as a child. I never knew, never mind. compromise. So I found a new forever, pulled myself together. I realized it was like falling so completely in a game where you would cheat me. Played my cards, queen of hearts, wrote your name in the stars, and it burned for a while. I believed that you and me would last a mile. So I don't think I ever knew you at all. And finally I think I see right through you for who you are. And all I know is that I wasted time being naive as a child, and I never knew, well, never mind. 'Cause when I was up, and when I was down, you never were around, and that was not good enough for me. Baby, when I was up, but when I was down, you never were around, and that was not good enough for me. And I don't think I ever really knew you. And finally I think I see right through you for who you are. And all I know is that I wasted time being naive as a child. And I wasted time being naive as a child. And I never knew you, well, never mind. No, never mind. No, never mind.
You call that radio?
Time to call that radio.
What about the people who hated on me?
Right, and then I see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute.
That's mad, isn't it?
Is this a Netflix thing?
It's actually a podcast.
What the fuck's a podcast?
You know, it's kind of like a radio show.
Oh, that! Radio!
Yeah.
And is there a way we can do something like that?
I couldn't help it.
By injection inside or
Yeah, I think so, because I think just paint in general, because I think like my poems in my painting.
No, cut. Yes. Hold on, Carla. You're back.
I'm
Let's
back.
just call that radio with Carla J. Easton. And the tune's a banger. We got heard this on YouTube the other day. Brilliant stuff, says Alan.
Thank
Lovely
you.
stuff, says Raymond. Love it, says Mary Veronica. Very nice, well done, says Tunnel Mental. That's a hit for me. Great tune, says James Owens. Sharon says, oh, great song, love the lyrics. Thanks, Mark, for introducing me to these artists I've never heard, though. There's loads of great artists, and Carla's one of many that's been on the show. We're very lucky. If anyone wants to check out previous shows as well, we've got it's on YouTube. We're on the YouTube and that for all the previous shows. And Disco Colin says, sweet.
Thanks.
Hello, Mark and Carla. Love the tribute to Denny Oliver. It's David Blair.
It's David Blair.
His ears burn. I think if you mention David Blair, he does appear. If you say his name, if you say David Blair's name once on a live stream, he appears. He says, hello, Mark and Carla. Love the tribute to Denny Oliver earlier, and that was some turn at the Barrow one with the neon sign in his honour. Great to see you on the show, Carla, and happy Celtic Connections memory. Your new song and video was outstanding. Yeah,
Thank
David,
you.
it was good to see you, albeit briefly as well. And what an amazing turnout for Denny. Just and shout out to the Barrowlands for putting the lights on for him, because a proper Scottish legend. Alan says, I listened to some of your stuff on Spotify when I was on the train going to visit my dad today. So that's, you got a few more Spotify plays.
Great.
Tunnel Mental says, hello, mateys. I love Spiritualized. I saw them a while ago. Ladies and gentlemen, we're floating in space. What an album! What an album. And also, I love the is it Love in the Key of A&E or
Songs in A&E. Yeah, I love that album. It's so
way underrated.
beautiful.
I think it was just, I think when I heard it, it was just happened to be one of those rare couple of days in Scotland when it's sunny for a couple of days, and I just listened to it over and over again. It was before Spotify, you know that, you know what I mean? You bought a CD and you listen, you bloody well listen to it. We've got Howard Govan saying, I heard that when the council built the old fruit market and city halls, they scrimped in soundproofing in between them, and as a result, they can't use both for gigs at the same time. Slow clap. Fuck's sake, Glasgow Council. Fuck's sake. Dreamers United, Jabba says Johnny Sloan. Colette says, hi, babes, broad tune, love, baby doll. Shouts to Colette. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, how would you describe your music? Have you come up with it? Because it's like, it seems these days you need to come up with your own description of your music. Otherwise, you're just leaving it at the hands of journalists who don't really care. So have you got a name for what would you describe your music as?
I hate having to describe what my music.
It's a terrible question. No, sorry, wait. You don't need to answer that. It's a terrible question. It's the worst question ever. Okay, let's change the question. Let's change the question.
Okay.
Because it's a terrible question. I was just hoping you might have had an instant answer, and if you've not, then it's a ridiculous. I'm just going to put you down a rabbit hole of trying to name things, items.
Well, no, I always say as an umbrella term pop, but I think under the umbrella of pop there are lots of other different little genres that you can go into. So that could be electro, it could be indie, it could be twee, whatever. But I would always just say pop, like it's kind of melody driven.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think that pop music gets a bit of a bad rep these days because there's so much bad pop music in the charts, for example. Maybe I'm too old, but I just don't get it. Some of the terrible stuff. But what you're doing is creating good pop. So maybe that should be a new genre, good pop. But also you can hear undertones of, maybe Kate Bush. Can I throw that one out? Is that an inspiration, Kate Bush?
I would take that. Yeah, take that.
It reminds me a bit of that, and it's just like there's a bit more of an edge to it than just the kind of sort of watered down pop. There's a real passion in the vocals. There's some really good production going on there, and so yeah, I would describe it as pop music. But because there's so much bad pop music, there's got to be it's got to be a separation from. It's not chart pop music. It's something a bit better.
I've always, growing up, I always listened to all different genres of music, and my record collection's like extremely varied. I'll quite happily sit George Harrison's All Things Must Pass next to Kylie's latest album and value them both in different ways. And I think that's just a really good outlook to have, is just listen to lots of stuff and find out what's out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's and if we're talking about, there's songs on the Spector-esque album we're just talking about that are pop. It's pop. There's songs that are just pop and that, but obviously Spector-esque are super cool, but they make pop music as well. And there's so many. I mean, every good band worth of salt tends to have at least one or two good pop songs that you could see being played on the radio.
Yeah, totally. I mean, my eldest brother's 10 years older than me, and so I was exposed to a lot of music he was listening to growing up, like when I was 8 and he was 18. And I always remember saying, like, one of the first pop albums that I heard was the Stone Roses debut album, because to me that just shimmers and there's so many melodies in it and it's so catchy. And like, I know there'll be a lot of people being like, oh my God, Stone Roses aren't pop. And I'm just like, whatever, it's subjective. But Sally Cinnamon's a great pop song.
Stone Roses make great pop songs. Everybody's singing along to every word. That's pop music. Yep, music is music, says Raymond. Biggest comment I can pay Carla is she's my number one playlist along with the gyros, etc. Well, there you go. You're on Johnny Sloan's playlist. Shouts to Johnny Sloan. Pop is brilliant. I love pop music, says Tunnel Mental. I thought it was quite poppy. Nothing wrong with that, says Sharon. Alan says Spaceman 3 to Spiritualize, seamless transition. Yeah, gotta give Jason his dues. And who was the other one? Very Taylor Swift like. Do you enjoy
you.
Taylor Swift?
I do, yeah. I really like 1989. I think that's like, well, it's a really important pop album. Two, I think 20 years from now, it's going to have stood the test of time as being quite a significant pop album. Can you compare it to a greatest hits? Like, I think one of the best pop albums of all time is Madonna's Immaculate Collection, and I'm going to be bold and say that I would put 1989 up there.
That is bold. That is bold.
That is bold, yeah.
Well, I don't actually know. I've not actually listened to enough Taylor Swift to actually understand it. But fair play. I don't know enough Taylor Swift, but yeah. You mentioned your brother Murray. Got to give Murray a shout out for everything he does in the music scene as well.
I mean, without Murray, I'd probably be a vet and much more successful and financially stable. So thank you for that, Murray.
I was like, a vet. If I were going to a vet, like as in you were going to go in Vietnam, no, an actual pet vet, a pet vet.
Yeah, a pet vet. I was quite into animals when I was young.
Well, that's the thing though about being a vet though, is like obviously you get the job because you love animals, but then you have to put the animals down. Do you think you could have handled that?
No. Well, it was either that or for a while I wanted to be a video shop girl.
Well, do you know, I think you took the right career turn. And, global video's not doing so well right now. I think that...
No. The days of Ritz are gone, and that was the eye on the prize was Ritz.
And with them, so I want to ask you about the Zoom tour because I don't know what that is, and I was just like, because obviously right now we're all in lockdown, we're all trying to think out the box. How can we entertain people? How can we be creative? How can we, do stuff? And I just love the phrase a Zoom tour. So could you explain it a bit more to me? Because I'm like, I don't know what it is.
I know. Well, it's just my album's coming out in August, and I thought if this had been a non-pandemic time, I would have gigged it to promote it and celebrate, years of hard work culminating in a release. And I thought, I can't do that. And then I thought, well, or can I? And so my crazy idea was to do it via Zoom, because I've only done 1 or 2 live streams on Facebook, and I find it really sort of like triggered my anxiety. And I really like when I perform live, whether that's with my band or solo, I really like talking in between songs and having a bit of a banter with who's there and having some laughs and stuff. And I thought, how can I do that in a virtual world where I can see who I'm singing at and they can see me and they can see who else is at the gig? Because I think gigs are such an important part of community for meeting like-minded people, and forming new friendships and stuff like that. So I thought, why don't I do a Zoom? That way I'm still performing to people. I can have an interaction rather than like freaking out about commenting on stuff like that or things like that. And so came up with the idea of a Zoom tour, and it also means that I can have other bands play because they can log in from their homes. So Friday I've got Sophie from Lemon Drink. Lemon Drink are brilliant. I would say they're like baby canteen, but maybe better than what we ever were. And then on Saturday, I've got Malka, who I'm really excited about. Her album, I'm Not Your Soldier, came out at the beginning of the year. She had to cancel a tour because of COVID. And then a week later, I've got my good friend David, who's Broken Chanter, who also had to cancel a tour. So because it's ticketed, you have to buy a link to get the Zoom link to join in on this private gig. It's only $40 per show. But it also means that we all get paid. And because there's no live gigs right now, we've all lost a lot of our income. So, whether it works, whether it crashes, whether people feel uncomfortable doing it, it's kind of like, I just thought I have to try and see how it goes.
Absolutely. Carla, I totally commend you for that, because there is literally, you either got to try stuff or do try nothing. And nothing will happen. So by trying something, and even if it doesn't work out, then it's fine. You learn, though, that doesn't work. Maybe if we did it that way, and it's the whole process of learning from that. And if people do want to get involved on the Zoom tour, how do they go about that? I'll bring it up on the screen.
So if you just go onto my website, which is carlajennifereaston.com, and click on the tab that says live, and it'll show you the 3 shows, who's supporting at each show, and then there's the link to buy tickets, and you buy a ticket via my big cartel, and I'll email you a link for the show. And then you can take part, and that's it. You can bring your headphones, you can join in your pajamas if you want. I would just ask that you be dressed. And hopefully it'll be fun.
The official dress code is be dressed. Just be dressed.
Be dressed. Wear something.
Not back wearing trainers or anything like that. It's just, wear something.
Yeah.
That's something that seems fair enough. So it's carlajennifereaston.com/live if you want to check that out. And what I also found was great about the Zoom tour is that you're doing different cities, which is interesting. You're starting off in Glasgow, of course, and then where else are you off to?
I'm doing Manchester and London. There was a part of me that was like, oh, I could just do a world tour here, like Friday night Glasgow, Saturday night Tokyo, but I thought I would try and keep it more realistic to real life.
Amazing. So that's the link, guys. I'll put it in the comments as well. What else we got? Out of all the local bands artists I know, Carla has nailed it, says Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny.
Going to see bands and motors. Well, that's another thing. I mean, I know that there's some of them get cancelled actually. The drive-in things. But I know Colonel Mustard they've still got there. I think they're doing a gig with Carly Connor and Tom McGuire and the Brassos and M&D's, and I think that's still going ahead. So you can drive to the gig. And that's it. Just try these things out. It's better than nothing. Great idea, the Zoom thing, says James Owen. Chris Racken says, gigs teach musicians to get better as a musician. That's what a lot of the art is hurting. Don't get me started on all the Guns N' Roses gig, bastards still. I don't know what you mean. Sorry,
Chris. Is that not being cancelled a couple of times and not rescheduled or something?
Right, no.
I don't know.
Sorry, it was just a lot of swearing. So I just kind of I read a message that's got a lot of swearing in it. Chris, actually, shouts to Chris. He gave me one of my early. Well, in fact, not that I've had many, but just doing a talk to music students. So I did a talk with various other people on the stage to talk about my experience in the music industry. And it was quite interesting because I always feel like I'm a bit of a fraud because I don't know what I'm doing. Then you realise, well, if you've not been knowing what you've been doing, but you've been doing it for over 10 years, then you've probably learned something that for some, because people were actually really interested in what I had to say, which I found quite stunning. So there is people that are just starting out their journey and they want to hear. And I think the best advice you can give to people is how not to do things. And, is there any advice you would give to people, either things to do or things not to do, starting out?
I mean, I started out in 2005 with my first band, Futuristic Retro Champions. And again, this is back in the days of Myspace, where we did a couple of shows, got Radio 1 play, things like that. But it was all like handmade CDRs and things. You couldn't really stream music online apart from Myspace. In terms of the amount of time, that's 15 years I've been writing, recording and performing. My number one top tip is don't put yourself on a trajectory. That's the best thing you can do is take yourself off a trajectory. There's literally no point in comparing yourself to other people because everyone has their own journey to go on. And some people, it might take longer. I mean, it took me over 10 years before I started performing under my own name. With my first band, and I wrote all the songs. I thoroughly believed that I couldn't sing. And I'd been told some comments growing up, you can't sing, you've got a weird voice. So I didn't sing my own songs till I started TeenCanteen. But yeah, just don't compare yourself and just take your time and enjoy it. You have to enjoy it because it takes up so much of your time,
Good Good advice. Enjoy it, because the reality is that are you going to, you might not make a career. If you want to make money, there's other avenues to go down if you want to make money. So just enjoy it. It's great advice. Simple, great. Enjoy what you're doing. And who said that you had a weird voice? Why do people say things like that? Did someone come up to you and say you've got a weird voice?
There's a couple of things. Girl at high school, and Sita is a beautiful singer who was the singer in Futuristic Retro Champions. Her voice is like crystal clear, and so totally the opposite of mine. But I think it's just, I've been told over the years, if you didn't sing in your accent, your music would go further or whatever. And to be honest, I'm just like, sack that. I'm from Carluke. Like, I can't not sing in my accent. It's a broad accent. I would feel like an absolute idiot if I put on a voice, because it's not authentic to who I am,
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird that someone would say those things in the first place, but you've got to be true to yourself. And I think by having your own voice, it makes you authentic, and that's what you've got to be looking after. And if anyone out there's some player hater saying that you've got a weird voice, they're probably jealous for a start. That's what they're being jealous for a start if they're saying you've got a weird voice. But also, by working on your own voice, you don't need that is how you get good. That's how you get fans, is because you've got people recognize your voice. Because if you're just going to copy and imitate an X Factor style singing voice, then there's a million of them, and there's people that are going to sound better than you by doing that. But if you just stick to your own voice, then people are going to not only love it but be inspired by it. And then I have no idea why anyone would have the argument that you should not have a Scottish voice. You're from Scotland, be Scottish, is my opinion. Obviously, we don't want to go into run rig territory, but just be real, be true to yourself.
Yeah, and it was when TeenCanteen started working with Stephen Watkins, the producer, where I felt like my confidence as a singer really kind of blossomed. And because he really took the time with me, he'd be like, see those weird vibrato things you're doing, stop trying to smooth it over and actually lean into it. Or like, see when your voice kind of yelps when it goes up high, like write a song that really highlights that, because it's cool. And he was always saying, the weird stuff in your voice is the good stuff. I want to hear more of it, And it was odd working in that way, because for so long I'd been trying to kind of iron out all the little inflections we've got now. And as a result, I really enjoy singing now, Although, I do I've got my old piano still at my mum's, so anytime I'm there and I'm playing, she's like, oh, you sound like you're in pain, but I'm having a blast.
And I think let's just check out one of the other videos here. We've got Milk and Honey. What's that about?
Milk and Honey is, so there was a little time actually where I was living at my mum's in Carluke because I didn't know what I was doing with my life, so my natural reaction was to just write an album. And I'd been watching this, I quite like watching musicals, and my friend Blair Young, that I'm making a documentary with, he gave me a musical. It's called what's it called? Sweet Charity. And he was like, watch this, you'll love it. And I did. The songs are amazing. The cinematography is great. The costume, just the colours. It looks like you could lick the screen and it would be delicious. And there's this scene where the main character sort of like tosses a penny in a fountain and she makes a wish. And I just kind of like wrote from there. And Milk and Honey just got inspired by this one scene in this film. And then I took it out. It just kind of kept going. And then I've got quite... The thing is like, see, when you perform, people assume you're quite a confident person, but I actually get quite low self-esteem and anxiety. So Milk and Honey's kind of like addressing that, which is like, basically, I'm not a necessity, and a bit kind of twisting it so it's fun and kind of trying to own your place back in a relationship. So stuff like the lyric, if I'm the sugar in your tea, then you're the spoon that's spooning me. It's just fun. I was just having fun with lyrics based off of thinking about penny wishes and fountains, really.
Amazing. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Let us know in the
Okay.
comments if you're enjoying this. Hit the love react, hit the wow react. I think this should be a wow react for this one. And hit the share button as well.
Sweet nothings of emptiness. I will digress. I'm spitting kisses in good faith to contradict the listlessness. Unnecessary necessity me and you. Canvases with red, I do detest keeping in the lights and checking in on time. The winning fun, vicious diction as my penny wishes just to keep on bright. I'm too scared to say that I needed you. I'm too scared to say that I needed you. 'Cause if milk and honey taste of me, then you're a dish of ecstasy. And I'm too scared to say that I needed you. Unnecessary, necessity me. Unnecessary, necessity see. 'Cause if I'm the sugar in your tea, then you're the spoon that's spinning me. And I'm too scared to say that I needed you. I'm too scared to say that I needed you. I needed you. I needed you. Oh, oh. Oh, no. I needed you.
Brothers and sisters.
Is that you, Daniel? Are you before me?
You call that radio?
Hello, yes, this is Dog.
You call that radio? Indeed, we are joined tonight with Carla J. Easton. If you're watching this on Facebook, you should maybe go to YouTube. It sounds better and it looks better on YouTube, and you also have the opportunity to watch all the other shows we've done since lockdown began. We've done about 70, 80 odd shows. So you'll find them on YouTube. Most of them will be on that YouTube channel. And we're also on Twitch. So if you're feeling guilty because you've got an Amazon Prime account, you can actually subscribe to us. And Jeff Bezos will owe us about £2.50 a month. It'll cost you nothing. Jeff Bezos owes us money. And we'll be sending a letter to his door very soon. And we're also on Facebook as usual. The show wouldn't be possible without the patrons. There. Shout outs to all the patrons who support the show. If you enjoy this show, we're here every night, almost every night, at patreon.com/you call that radio. There's a PayPal link there as well. if you want to support the show, and also by being a supporter and helping us build this thing, for a couple of quid a month, less than a pint of beer, less than a fancy coffee, you can not only supporting us, helping us build this thing and supporting the underground scene, but you're also got a good chance of winning things in the Big Mad Raffle. We're doing a Big Mad Raffle. My birthday's coming up, so we're going to do a Big Mad Raffle very, very soon. We've got Carla J. Easton in the house. Carla, loving that tune. And it's amazing what you're talking about. You know, people are surprised that a performer like yourself that puts themselves out there on stage suffers from anxiety or self-confidence issues. And it actually surprises me that people are surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? It surprised me that, because obviously I think that the best art comes from frustration, depression, dark moments when you just, it inspires you to pick up a pen and pad and write a thing, make a song. And then from there, it's like if you've made a thing, you might as well perform it live. And so it's actually surprising to me when everyone's actually really confident, even though they look confident on stage. I suppose it's like that act of, if you're on stage, if you're already on stage, you need to act confident, because if you don't act confident, then people will see that. So by acting confident on stage, it means that more people are going to sort of listen to what you've got to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, I mean, there's nothing makes me happier than just bashing on my old piano and singing along and making a racket, as my mum would say, or like in the studio. I love being in the recording studio. I love like going in with the bones of something, and then you come out with this like whole new sonic baby, and just that kind of journey that it goes on. And then live, like, I mean, I love playing with my band. I really love it. And I love meeting people, and like the buzz after a live show is great. It's not that I don't enjoy the actual show. It's just that like the lead up to actually the show starting, you know, and it's like the sweats and the panic and the nausea and stuff. And it's just weird. It's weird because you have to do it, and then it's like, well, no one's forcing
why
you.
do we put it? Why do we put ourselves through that? Because like you know, it's sound check. You do your sound check. You've got 3 hours to wait. Everyone else is getting pissed. You can't do that. Well, you can. I have. It's not to be advised though. So you're just sitting there, kind of waiting to go on stage, and then you do it. But there's something magical that seems to happen. Maybe 2 songs in, where you're just like, no, I've got this. You know, I think anxiety for me is just like weird thoughts that come through your head. Like, what if I don't remember the words to my first song? And I remember like with Gyro Babies, we've had like songs with a long intro. So it's this big intro where it's all kicking off. And I'm just like, if I forget the first line here, I might as well just leave, go home, you know, and you get those thoughts. And then,
yeah, no, totally. I started CBT last year, and I've been still continuing my sessions via Skype, which has been great. And I was talking about how I'm really anxious about a live streaming stuff, and like, sure enough, like I did the Tiny Changes festival, in 2 minutes before going live, I chucked up everywhere. It's just why at the start of the performance, I'm like try to clear my throat and stuff. But my therapist said, she was right. She was like, you're becoming anxious about the anxiety now. And I think that's it. I think it's like you have one bad experience of performing, and it can stay with you for life, and you're always fearful it'll happen again. And then you start and get anxious about the anxiety attack coming on. And it just can become this cycle until, as you say, you're like 2 or 3 songs in, and you're like, oh, this is fine. I can do it. I've totally got this. And do you know what? If I play a wrong note or sing a wrong word, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, you know, because we're all just human.
Yeah. Like I said, nobody actually cares if you get a line wrong. But no. I think if you do a big over the top intro and you get the first line wrong, I still think you need to go home. That's still in my head. That is still in my head. What's really interesting, CBT, let's talk a little bit about that, because with lots of conversations on this show before about depression, anxiety, mindfulness, we've talked about yoga and all sorts of things, but I think CBT we've not really went into. If you could just explain that briefly, what that is for people that are tuned in.
So for me, it was like I've sort of realized that I keep making patterns in life and choices, and sort of like cyclical things keep happening in my personal life. So it's sort of recognizing it's cognitive behavioral therapy. So sort of like, why do you do that? How do you change those patterns? So been doing that over the last year, and then a bit of grief counselling, and it's been really good. I mean, it's over a year now, and it's been ongoing, and I think I've become a better person for it, or more present in my sort of relationships with friends and family.
Amazing. And if anyone was maybe curious about CBT, is there any YouTube videos or anything that they could check out if they're just wanting to, hear a bit more about what CBT is about?
Do you know, it was like the way I came to it was through friends that sort of recommended it, that had been receiving therapy themselves and just asking them a lot about it. And then since starting therapy, just being quite open and honest about it with friends or peers, and discovering that a lot of people also get therapy in various different forms. So I'm sure there's great resources. I mean, I mentioned Tiny Changes for one, brilliant charity to go and have a look. I spoke to my GP quite a lot to sort of like work out what would be a good route for me.
Amazing.
Everyone's different,
Everyone is different. It's absolutely true. But loads of my friends have got great experience with CBT, so I recommend, if anyone's struggling, just Google it, look on YouTube, and see if it might be something that will work for you. Petra says Kate Bush and Barbara Streisand get the fear, and Madonna gets the shits. So there you go.
So even the greats, then.
Even the greats. Great fun and thank you, says Mary Veronica. Another great tune, Carla, says James Owen. Petra also said, I love Carla's vocal, reminds me of Cyndi Lauper. Will you take that?
Yeah, take that. I love Cyndi Lauper.
And she says, don't change a thing. I'm a pop star. I love it. And really enjoying this interview, as always, says Alan. Thank you, Alan, for tuning in. Martin asks, what's the documentary you're making about?
So it's actually, I've been making it since 2016. I sort of started making a documentary thinking like, oh, this will be easy. It's not. It's a lengthy process. So I'm making it with my friend Blair Young, who has the video company Forest of Black, who Hannah Curry has worked with on her documentaries. So Blair had been making some music videos for my band TeenCanteen, and we started talking about the way girl bands and girl groups are depicted in music videos. And then I started talking about some obscure all-girl bands from Scotland. And Blair had never heard of them. And he, as a kind of like niche music fan, was like, why have I not heard of these women? So the documentary is about the history of all-female bands within Scotland. So it starts in 1960 with the McKinleys, which were two sisters from Edinburgh who released a couple of singles on Columbia Records. They supported the Rolling Stones at Wembley. They were the support act for the Beatles' first UK tour, but they've become relatively obscure. No one really knows about them, even though they were like quite groundbreaking and part of the girl group genre, like the Spector girl groups and all that era. And then we go right up. We've kind of stopped at the turn of the millennium. So we go through like the 70s. There's quite a lot in the 80s. So we've got the ETTEs that I mentioned earlier, Strawberry Switchblade, the Twin Sets, Long Leg. I'm probably going to forget everyone that I've spoken to. Sunset Gun. Who else is there? There's so many, so I really apologize if I've missed anyone out. But
that's the problem.
I think
when you start listing people, it's like any good bands in Scotland. I got asked that recently. We were interviewing Pete Bentham from Liverpool, and he says, and you start mentioning, if you mention one band, you've got to mention like 25 bands, and you're still going to miss out
Oh,
5.
that's Sophisticated Boom Boom, his latest Flame, Pink Cross. Yeah, so it's basically it's all female bands and sort of like celebrating their story. It's really important to celebrate these stories that are untold. I mean, there's like the Scottish music scene has been written about academically and just in sort of pop culture all over the world, and it's celebrated. So, but it's like, well, where are these stories? They're not there, you know, and they're you know, between them, these bands have had like a worldwide #1 single. I think it's like 20 Peel sessions amongst them, numerous magazine covers and radio and television appearances. And it's like, so as well as celebrating these untold stories, so that maybe, you know, I started TeenCanteen at the age of 24. Maybe if there'd been a documentary about the history of all girl bands in Scotland when I was 15, I wouldn't have waited so late, because it would have been normal for me to be in a band with my sisters. And with the discussion we've got on key change, on like festivals signing up to 50-50 gender splits on festival bills to encourage and get more women making music. So this is just this is a localized version of a global story. You know, there's hundreds of women out there, and it's important that we don't lose them to history, and we celebrate their stories and learn from them as well. That was quite a full-on description.
No, that's great. Also, shout, Carla, much respect for actually, as I was saying, you can't name all the bands. You went back to your list and went, no, I can maybe name them all. So hopefully you got them all. And I think that for people that maybe don't understand, the example I've got is that 5 years ago, we got Jo Dark from the Twistettes, who joined my band. She's got a band with her sister, Nikki, the Twistettes, just a 2-piece sister, both sisters. They've done amazing stuff. But when Jo joined the band about 5 years ago, and we also had Jess joined the band on the synth, and I've got to admit, I was a wee bit blinded to sexism, because it's the same thing we've got going on with the Black Lives Matter stuff, where you've got white privileged males saying, well, I don't see any racism. There's people saying that there's no racism in Scotland, which is mental. I'm from a small town. That's not true. But by having 2 females in my band, I was seeing little things that they weren't outrageously sexist. People were actually trying to be nice in a lot of ways, but it was really patronizing things like trying to help Jo plug her bass guitar in, and you're like, this is one of the best bass guitarists in Scotland, and this sound engineer's like plugging her bass in as if she needs help with that. Also seen a situation where, you know, Jess is on stage and she's got loads of sort of analog instruments I couldn't even name, you know, synth type keyboard stuff. And the sound engineer comes up to me and goes, can you explain this to me? Because obviously it was quite a lot. It was a lot of stuff she brought on stage, and I'm like, well, ask her. She's a doctor. She's literally a doctor in music, and you're asking me. You know what I mean? What do I know? I'm just a singer. I don't know anything. I just know that I trust her. She's going to be good. But I suppose that opened my eyes to, I think that in general, the whole, just because you don't see, I don't see sexism in the music industry. I don't see racism or whatever. Unless you're living that life, you're not going to see it. Simple as that.
No, totally. And like, I mean, I started making music and going to gigs primarily as a way to sort of like hang out with my 2 big brothers. You know, like when I'm 8 and Murray's 18, he wasn't really into like playing with my Cindy and Barbie dolls unless I really twisted his arm. So a good way for us to bond was like he would make a mixtape, and then we'd get in my mum's car and go driving around the Clyde Valley and listen to this music. And he'd buy me CDs and things like that, or let me read his melody makers. So like when I was like 14 and I could go to a gig, it was super exciting to have this thing that we could do together. And I never really batted an eyelid, and even in my first band didn't really notice it as much. And it wasn't until I was in TeenCanteen that you notice, wait a minute, where's the other girls on the bill? Or how come you spoke to me that way but you didn't speak to that act that way? And then it's a paradox, because you don't want to be booked for a lineup just to tick a box, like a box ticking exercise. You want to be booked and promoted because people believe in your talent and that you can bring an audience in. But similarly, I think stuff like key change is perhaps needed in order to make people aware of the situation. And ultimately what we want to do is, like, there's so much written on it that if you see someone on stage that looks like you, then as an audience member, you're more likely to think, that's an opportunity that I can do. And I can relate to that. If we go back to talking about Polyphonic Spree, that was the first time I'd seen like women and men on stage together making this loud pop music. And I was like, I want to do that. You know, they're doing it. Can I do it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nailed it. Just going through some of the older comments. Alan says, I still miss Blockbuster Video. Don't we all? We all. And I suppose that's kind of like a metaphor for stuff on Spotify just now. It's because like when you went to Blockbuster, you picked your video based on the cover, basically. The cover on the back. You would pick it and you would go home and you wouldn't cut it off after 20 minutes. You would need to either learn to enjoy it or watch it to the end at least. And it's the same with music. You used to spend £15 on a CD. You would play that CD over and over again. And I wonder how many amazing songs I've missed out myself as someone who tries not to do it. But because Spotify, you hear a new album and you pick out maybe your 2 favourite ones, you put it on a playlist, and then it's just, you've lost that album. And we all know from listening to albums in that other era, that when you listen to albums, it was the big songs brought you in, the big hitters brought you in and made you buy the album. But it was always that weird track 8 song that would become your favourite song.
Yeah, I know.
And how many of these track 8s have we missed out?
I still buy records because I really love the fact that it makes me listen to an album, which, you know, I would assume that the artist is intended, like, listen to the songs in these order rather than like pick and choose what tracks you're going to listen to. And so every morning I get up, put a record on, go to the kitchen, make a coffee, come back. I'll maybe listen to that side again, and then I have to actively get up and engage with the music to flip it over and listen to the other side. And I feel like I really get into an album that way by actually it being a physical thing that I hold, and I have to do a bit of work to hear the next side, you know. So I really enjoy that. I mean, I will check out stuff on Spotify to like hear it if I'm desperate, but chances are if there's an album on Spotify that I really, really love, then I buy the record. Because that's how I listen to music mostly, really.
But that's if there's a record to buy with a really good
a record to buy.
Because it seems like right now there's so many the technology's moved on. There's so many artistic people making amazing music in their bedroom, but without any of their own financial support. If they can't afford to bring out a record, or they've not got a record label who's going to support it, then you've got this amazing music that should be on record that doesn't exist on record either. So it's a strange scenario whereby there's amazing music that should be on record that isn't on record. But I do agree with buying. I mean, there's something about vinyl. Have you got any plans for your new album? Is that going to be on vinyl?
Yeah. So amazingly, like, we launched the pre-orders for it at the beginning of July, and there's now only 20 copies left, and it's not even out till the end of August, and that's never happened with my albums before. So I was like, Lloyd at Olive Grove Records are like, maybe this is the first time you'll ever do a repress and I'll ever do a repress. Of course, a repress is great if you're on tour and you can sell it at gigs, but I can't do that right now. But yeah, so I'm quite excited about that. But like, I've done limited edition cassette releases where I've spray painted all the cassettes and wrapped them in seeded tissue, you know, that when you plant it, flowers emerge. Or I still do handmade CDs. Like, I started a fan club at the start of the year where I burned all the CDs myself and folded up the packaging they would go in, and took a Polaroid for the front of every CD and glued it on and made it to order. And I think like digital's great for getting out there, but you know, like, I think fans love something physical of yours, and there are ways to do it that doesn't have to be vinyl. Like cassettes are brilliant, and the sales of them, I think it grew by like 70% in the last 2 years. Whether people are actually listening to the cassettes or not, I think people just like having something that they can support a band, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because just because people aren't listening to the CD doesn't mean they don't want the actual thing. I've supported this artist, and I think that a lot of people, as they are music fans who have enjoyed the music, and they might be listening to it in Spotify app, or they might have downloaded the digital download. But I think that there's a bit of nostalgia to the fact that you actually see it. There's some linear notes to read about where did this come from. It's a real thing. And I don't think that's went away. People still, they're harking back to it. They want to feel, and also I think more importantly for me, I think there's a lot of people that don't listen to what I've actually created, but they want to support what I'm doing, even though they are listening to it on Spotify. And that's exactly how I do it when I watch a band that I really enjoy, especially when I know that they're on a small label or unsigned or whatever, and they're especially if they're touring as well. It's like,
Yeah.
let's support this. They just played an amazing gig. I can tell this is an amazing band. I'm definitely going to buy something. So whether I listen to it or not is a side issue. It's like I want to buy this to support the band, and then I'm going to listen to them on Spotify. And I think another thing that people can do to support as well, if you maybe can't afford to buy the CD or the vinyl because you're not going to listen to it, and you're like, well, I can't really justify spending a thing on that. I think definitely live music captures you to just buy a thing that you might not use. But I think if you're skint, you can still support by hitting the share button. I mean, it's just such a big thing.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you bring out a new video, see people that hit the share button. And it's weird because sometimes you can release something on a certain time and on a certain day. It can go mad, and other times people don't do it. And I think that that's down to people's self-esteem, where they think, well, okay, I could share it, but nobody cares what I think. But people do care what you think. The way I listen to most of my new music is because a friend of mine that I trust on their music discovery, we agree on the same kind of thing. If they share something new that they're excited about, then I'm going to check that out more than, if you share, like someone shares a new single from their own band page, I'm like, of course they're going to say it's good and we should watch it. There's something more exciting about one of your friends being excited by the music. So sharing without costing you any money, hitting that share button can do a lot for artists like yourself.
100%. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I think back to being a teenager, and the way for me to share music was to either like actually tape off the radio, or like even you couldn't, like, I couldn't even burn a CD in this, like before mini discs and stuff. I would have to like record an album onto a tape. I mind doing that with Debbie from TeenCanteen when I think I'd first discovered the Vaselines in my big brother's collection. I was like, oh my God, Debbie needs to hear this. So I immediately made it a tape of the album and took it into high school and stuff. And I mean, people have always been sharing music. And it certainly a link is a lot more easier to do that than recording on bits of plastic and passing that around and stuff like that. I've definitely found, especially during lockdown, that Bandcamp has been amazing, and like my fan base has really supported me there. And the fact that Bandcamp like waived their percentage of your sale on the first Friday of every month is fantastic. It's a platform, I think.
It's a brilliant idea, and also I think that it's amazing that for Bandcamp, it's a really, by being generous with that, it's also an amazing business idea for them, because so many people are getting into Bandcamp now, because once you buy one thing, you've got a Bandcamp account, and then you're getting your collection. So like people, you can kind of share your people are seeing your collection. And I think Bandcamp, the way that they made it so that you could pay what you want for music is amazing as well, because it means you can put a song out, pay what you want, so people can download it for free. That means if you've got a fan or a friend who's skint, they can still have that music. But if someone's like, you know what, I've just been paid and I really enjoy that, there's a tenner. It's a good model.
I know. and I think it's really interesting that on Spotify now you can finally put on your artist page like either a link to donate to a charity, your listeners, or a link to pay the artist. Like if you really enjoy their music and you're consuming it all the time, you can PayPal the artist now as a show of support. And I think that's a good baby step from for Spotify to make whilst the debate's going on about how much writers and artists are actually making per stream of their music, you know, which
Absolutely.
is a big debate. I mean, I have to say my Spotify streams are hardly anything to talk about, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
Yeah. Same here. Spotify, I mean, it's okay. But I mean, that's partly my fault because I've been kind of slagging Spotify for years, and then it was only about a year or two ago I just kind of, fuck it, I'll put it on there. Because I realised how good an app it was, because things before I'd only used the free version of Spotify, where you couldn't even pick your songs. I was like, why do people even like this? But then actually seeing the actual paid app, it's good, and that's why people like it, and that's where people are. And if that's where people are listening to music, then I suppose I kind of had to give in and say, let's put our music on there, and hopefully people will still support in Bandcamp. It's a tough one. I think that how do you go into the playlist? That's the big thing. Once you get into one playlist, you get into lots of playlists. It's kind of like festivals. So people say it's cliquey, and festivals can be considered cliquey. As someone who was never booked for festivals for many years, but I found a way in. You know, I was actually collecting litter and all sorts. I loved festivals, and I still do. I missed festivals. It's part of what I love most. All winter I look forward to festivals. So I was going to get into festivals by hook or by crook. I was going to get in. And then once you play one festival, someone says, yeah, they're okay. It tends to open up a whole new realm of other people going, well, let's put them for our festival.
Yeah, no, playing festivals is great, and it's a brilliant way to. Festivals are a great way to reach people out with your existing audience, because it just like, and I mean, it's myself as the people that I've discovered just being an attendee at a festival have been brilliant. You know, you've got that opportunity to go between stages, or you're waiting on a band to come on, so you'll just check out the band before and things like that. And they're really, really brilliant. I mean, it certainly looks like open air events will come back sooner than venues, and we just kind of hope that everything survives to make it to next year, everything that's been postponed this year.
Well, that's probably a good time to shout out Mackie, who is trying to do things, and we're actually going to do a Call That Radio all day at Capture Works, I think, on August the 15th. It's not been confirmed completely, but the idea of bringing bands together, obviously there's no crowd but it looks amazing. The lighting's amazing. It's multi-cameras. The audio quality is amazing. We did a road test a couple of weeks ago. It's top notch. I seen a picture you shared the other day as if you were there on Saturday, and once again, it's just because I mean this lockdown this could be continuous for a long time, so we've got to be prepared for that. And it's time to just take a few risks. We're talking about earlier on. Take a few risks. Like people, if people are getting to see their favourite band performing live again, then support the bands if they try and do it. What was your experience at Capture Works?
Oh, it was brilliant. Like, so Ian had approached me saying if I wanted to come and use the space and how I'd find it and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, totally. However, like me and my band haven't played together since the beginning of February, so it was fucking awful. But we lucked out because like rehearsal studios have started opening again. So we had a last minute rehearsal on Friday night at Berkeley, and I was like, wow, we're really rusty. Like, what are we doing? But do you know what? It was brilliant because Ian and his team, they just let us like run through some songs, work stuff out, work out a set, fine tune some bits. And so we were there for the day, and then we performed the set twice. And like, aside from the fact that I've now got footage to use of a gig, you know, in his facilities, you could live stream it. We recorded it to take away because we were a bit nervous because we hadn't played together for ages. And the footage is beautiful, and the sound was great, and the lights were great.
I've got a picture, I think, actually.
You've got a picture?
I'll bring the picture up. So that gives you a rough idea what we're talking about here. I mean, how cool
So
does that look?
there's this big projection screen at the back, and I think when they live stream it, the kind of comments go up on it so you can interact, and it's multi-camera, so it switches between all the shots. It's not just a static shot at the stage there. And my band have set up in a sort of flying V formation there, so we could all be 2 meters apart. It's so safe. Like, all the mics are put in quarantine for 2 weeks after use, and new mics are brought out. It was just, the team were so brilliant, but really, like, see, when we all got back afterwards, we just were so buzzing. It just felt so good to be able to do your job. Like, I can't actually describe how amazing it was to just be able to do what you do, and like, for the sound technicians to be able to do their job, to like mix a band and make it sound good, and Ian to set up his PA. Like, I mean, it was the most amazing I'd felt in months.
And Ian's got like the best crew that you can get. These are the crew that would normally be doing the top festivals in Scotland and England, and they're actually just champing at the bit to do some good work. And yeah, I got the same feeling, just like, I forgot how good that feels. Also, there's no crowd, so it's a bit strange at first, but I would recommend anyone to look up Capture Works, and we're going to maybe do one there on 15th of August and just do a live stream, because like you said, we're trying out the different things, but I think doing a live thing will mean people are more, they're there in the gig, and we're just going to need to try things like this, because if we don't, then there's just going to be nothing.
It was weird. Like, the first time we ran through the set, it was just kind of like, whoo. And then we kind of watched back the footage, and we're like, God, we all look so nervous. And seeing a rehearsal room, we're not like that at all. We're kind of joking and laughing, and there's not an audience in a rehearsal room. But I guess, like, you are aware of your stage present when you're performing to an audience, and an audience react off you, and you react off the audience and stuff. So it becomes more about you and your band and your relationship and really being there for each other. But I think what else it highlights is that there's so many people that make gigs happen. It's not just the band. Like, there's tour managers of lost work, guitar techs, sound engineers, PA hire company. Like, there's so many people that have lost work right now. And, it's great, the government funding, but the 2.2 million in Scotland, it's not that much when you have to like cover the cost of all these amazing freelancers who do such a great job. There's so many, and it's arts and music and museums, and we really need the audience to get behind us whilst we adapt to this new virtual experience, because we know it's not the same, but we're trying our best to still entertain you, really. And I know you can't actually go to a venue, but we're still creating and we're still making things, and in order for us to do that, we still need an income to share it all with you. And that's what I know. They're saying there, but it's just, it can feel very overwhelming right now. And is there a way out of this? But we do need people to try and adapt and create new ways of doing stuff and move it online, because there could be a second lockdown. And if there's a second spike, until there's a vaccine, we could be in and out of lockdown constantly, and international touring might not come back.
And a Scottish winter's going to be a wee bit different from you going for a jog in the park in that sunny May for an hour every day to be in November, and we're going to need to be prepared. And I think Capture Works is, if you see any band that you like trying a live stream thing, do it. Especially when we support it, because what Capture Works are doing is just spending a lot of money and making it sound and look incredible. It's just not going to be like, the way we sometimes do live acoustic sets on here, but we're using normal internet, and it doesn't sound that great, to be honest. And it's the same when I play one of your tunes on YouTube right now. It's not going to sound the best because it's just, we're using house internet. So, but what they've got going on now at Capture Works is it's actually going to sound almost like it's very close to the real thing. So why don't we all just go to your mate's house that's got a back garden, get the speaker out and just dance around like you would normally would. And I think that is probably the future. And I think we've got a space for one more band on the 15th of August. So if there's any bands out there that want to get involved, and then just get in touch, because I think we're going to do a monthly night just to kind of introduce the audience to new bands and just let everyone play again, because it's just, you can see people are genuinely enjoying playing again, because it's not like playing in a rehearsal room to nobody. You're playing with this amazing lighting rig, so you do feel like you're on a main stage of a big festival. Do you know what I mean? It's got that vibe.
Yeah,
I
mean,
it's important.
I would totally say it's like world-class facilities, and we've got it right here in Glasgow, and that's incredible, and we should celebrate that, and especially because we're a UNESCO World Heritage City of Music, you know, so the fact that we've got this here is brilliant, but for it to work, we're going to need everyone watching and listening right now to
that's the big question that I've got just now. Do we charge for, like, you know, do we charge for the tickets so you can see it? Or do we make it public on all our YouTube channels, on our Facebook channels, on our Twitch, and then hope that everyone just chips in a wee bit, a donation that they can afford? And I think that would be the right way to do it if everyone just actually supports it. So I think probably the first time we're going to do it, it's going to be, it's free for everyone to watch, but support it if you've got, if you can afford it. We're going to make a very quality live experience, and I think that's the way it should be. Shout outs to Mackie, actually working his arse off. So support it, because this could be a cold, long winter, and having that would make it a lot easier. And it mean bands can promote their new albums and their new releases, because it's not like people have stopped making music. Everyone's working probably harder. There's going to be so much new music coming out over the next year, and I'm actually quite excited by it. I mean, we all go from positive to negative, pessimist to optimist, and I really hope that by next summer we've just got this whole bunch of new music, and we've just got an audience who are just going to actually go wild for it, like the third Summer of Love. How good would that be? All the festivals sold out and everyone going mad for it.
No, well, that's it. And I think once everything returns back and we can have gigs without physical distancing and at full capacity, I almost feel like the appetite for it is going to be bigger than what it was before. And the venues are going to be busier than ever they've been before, just because it's been missed. And I think, was there not like a recent sort of comparison to the Spanish flu at the turn of the 20th century, where Broadway just exploded once the pandemic was over and became kind of the blueprint for what it is today? And I think creative people always produce work after a time of turmoil, or a time when you've got something to react towards. I mean, I do keep joking with my friends that how many hipster bands are going to be called Social Distancing next year, and that, you know, there's going to be the Devendra Banhart Lockdown album and then a bonus disc of like the bathroom backing vocal outtakes. But we're all talking about it in jest, because everyone is recording and writing still at home and working out how to still produce material that's of the same quality and standard that they'd been doing before this.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, that's a good point about the technology. Everyone's been investing or borrowing new microphone. This is from my Famish. He was an absolute legend to give me a shot of this to get this show started. Everyone's learning how to live stream. Everyone's learning how to do Zoom calls, things that people would normally not do. So hopefully when things get back to semi-normality, then hopefully this is still things that we can do, because we can now create albums from a distance, and hopefully there's going to be a lot of good stuff to come from this. That's my positive. Let's be positive about this.
Let's be positive.
Why not? It's a positive night. I'm going to go through some of the comments because there's loads coming in. Zoomers United says Johnny Sloan.
Good.
Chris, pop song Spirit in the Sky, that's a classic, and also it's made its money in the pop 80s Brat Pack films. What's happening with gigs? Are we going to be in more tooting the horns whilst you play? Well, do you know what? If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. I mean, I personally, I'm up for doing some live stream gigs where the audience are in the garden partying while we play in an actual somewhere like Capture Works. That's what I'm up for. I don't know how I feel about doing a gig. It depends on the band, though. I'm in a couple of different projects. There's things that I could do. I could do spoken word and maybe Jackal Trades with social distance crowd. But I think Gyro Babies would need... It'd be weird to do a Gyro Babies gig where people can't hug each other and jump around a wee bit. I mean, what's your feeling about that? I mean, I think you would do an amazing acoustic set where people could be in chairs, socially distanced, and that would be fine. But to do your full set,
I mean, band... I know I've got loads of friends in Canada, and they've just started doing street gigs. So they just plug in their PA, put it at the window, and then go out on their front step and do gigs for whoever happens to be in their neighborhood. Or sometimes they'll just wheel it around to their pal's neighborhood and plug in the electricity there. And I'm like, that's actually really great because it's community, and I guess it's sort of making people realize what's local to them and around them, which might become important when touring can't happen. I feel really like if I'm honest, like the drive-in gigs, I kind of have like mixed feelings about it, just because and like, don't hate me anyone that says this, but like prior to lockdown there was a lot of talk about the carbon footprint of festivals and how we can lower that. And as much as I want to see gigs happen and support the music industry because I work in it, I'm a bit fearful about gigs where like 300 cars turn up and single-use plastic cups and things like that. Like, it's kind of a paradox. You want these things to keep happening, but you don't want to go against the progress that had been happening before that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I know exactly what you mean. I'm still neutral on the drive-in gig thing because I think that until I've actually been there and seen it, I mean, it might actually quite funny to be at a gig and seeing your friends over there having a good time and you're kind of waving each other and dancing in your 1 yard. It could be good.
Yeah, no, and then there'll be that dick that turns up in their big van and you can't see anything, you know, and then you're still the short person at the back of the gig. But I think, again, we have to try things and we have to see how they work, and that's the whole part of adapting. So I'm not slamming it at all. I would just, I was already conscious of the carbon footprint of gigs, so I'm just like, okay, but how can we do that? But I mean, I saw plans that another festival had where it wasn't going to be cars for a festival next year, but they had like raised platforms and there could be like an amount of people per platform or pen, if you will, for people to enjoy the music outdoor. And then also, like, I speak to friends that have got relatives in France, or I've got relatives in New Zealand, and they are at gigs, and it's not drive-through. These things are happening. So I think it really depends on if there's a second spike, are people still adhering to the rules, and things like that as well. It's all very tied in together.
It's all fucked. It's all fucked and nobody knows what's going on. Basically, it's all fucked and nobody knows what's going on because we don't.
I was trying to be a bit more diplomatic about it, but yeah, there is points where you're just like,
Just in case anyone's tuned in, it's all fucked and we don't know what's going on. Just to sum it up. So you're not a fraud. Thank you. Can you teach Mark to sing, please? Yeah, we did have a singing, talking and breathing special last week where I tried to learn because I had a throat operation and made Sevka, who gave me my only singing lesson ever, and I learned so much from one singing lesson. And you can watch that back in YouTube, and if we're not going to get into that, but yeah, I still need to learn. I was just surprised about how little I knew about singing, breathing, talking, all that stuff. I've been doing it wrong. And I'm going to try and, I promise to try and do better. We've got lots of comments coming in. Hold on. It's Biss. Sharon just says Biss. Biss are great.
Biss.
What do you think about Biss?
Biss are great. I love Biss. I love I really, really loved Mandarin's solo album that came out. When was that? Like 2007 or something. That was absolutely brilliant. I've always loved Biss. I think they're great. Really good.
Yeah. Shout outs to Mandarin, absolute legend. Nigel says, cognitive behavioural therapy needs to be more widespread. This crisis is going to highlight a mental health problem. Of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, today was the first day that I've had a pint. I went, it was more after we clapped Denny Oliver from Scheme outside the Barrowlands, and then we'd booked a table at SWG3 for after it and caught up with a few friends, and it was great. SWG3's got all this artwork going on. You've got your own table. It's very safe to do it, I think. I think it's very safe. Considering every time you go into a supermarket, you're risking your life, then at least the whole situation's very designed that you can't do anything wrong. And but yeah, just that I felt great there, but also I could just see a lot of people just looking like a bit anxious because you're having fun and relaxing, but if you've not had fun or relaxed for a few months, then it's a bit weird suddenly being catapulted into that environment. And I think that when we come out of this, there's going to be a lot of that. It's not going to be simple as just saying, oh, that's it, over, let's just get back to normal.
No, I don't think so. And I think like a really important part of lockdown restrictions easing is just to be very respectful of everyone. You know, I've got friends that are just not ready to come out of the restrictions yet, you know, so they're still barely leaving the house unless it's to go for a walk and things like that. And I have to respect their decision because they'll make the choice to do that when they're ready. Obviously, I would want to support them in doing it sooner rather than later, rather than being, you know, on a kind of doom scroll and not aware of what's happening outside. But I think, yeah, there's going to be long-term effect for this massively in terms of mental health.
You look after your friends, look after everyone, look after yourselves. That's a fact. So much creativity coming out of Scotland, says Nigel. Nigel's in LA.
Hi, Nigel.
He's loving it. Shouts to Nigel. Just checked out Cherry Pie, so good. We'll be checking out TeenCanteen for sure. Sharon says it's horrible. You don't own anything on Spotify. Went off buying CDs. Need to get records. There's something about the record, isn't there? There's something about the record. Sharon says cassettes are cool through the Malauto door.
Yeah.
Johnny Sloan says I have no idea the money stuff from Spotify, but buy your favorite bands, artists, CDs, and make a playlist and repeat them on Spotify. Yeah, that's it, man. Buy the CDs, buy the digital download, and then if you want to use Spotify, then by all means make a playlist. And I think what we're going to do just now is we've got loads of comments coming in, but I would love to hear an exclusive because it gives me the opportunity to use the exclusive banner. And
okay.
I believe that we do have an exclusive that no one has ever heard before. Is that true?
No.
There you go. Look at that. Sky Sports News style exclusive. So if you could tell us a little bit about that and I'll get it set up.
Yeah, so I thought I would share this with you just because Stanley Odd had been on your show. And on my new album, I've got a duet with Dave Hook, also known as Solar Eye, also in Stanley Odd, who's just brilliant and I think one of the best human beings on the planet. So I kind of had written this track and approached him to see if he would put a rap on it in the sort of breakdown middle 8-bit, and he ended up kind of doing call and response to a lot of what I'm saying throughout the song. So it's become a duet and it's beautiful. And I just really think Dave is at the top of his game and always has been. I'm so glad that Stanley Odd are back and giving us new music. And so yeah, this is my track Waves That Fall, which is a duet with Solar Eye on my new album Weirdo, and this is the first time anyone's hearing it.
Exclusive.
I got you. Ready?
Yeah, he's
1 2. Yo, this is Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5 live and direct here in Glasgow, Scotland, and you call that radio?
Upon you, we are here to tell the people that we hear you. One God will not allow us as people of conscience to lose our morale. We see the crimes of this government, how they support every dictator and criminal on this earth. Sometimes you can feel down. Sometimes you're
Did you ride
when you sing it so softly. I feel that you're getting no sleep. For a shame, before I could try to explain. I felt when the wave falls and it falls with grace, when it falls and it falls on purpose. The scars that make was a price to pay for the fall and fly from grace. When the wave breaks and it breaks like day, when it breaks without heart. Drew my heart on a page just for argument's sake. I've been out drawing chalk question marks in the rain. Drew a door on a page, opened up with a pen, but I couldn't ever write my way back out again. The ink in this pen knows your edges and winds as they spill and they bloom between pages and lines. The stories that weaves through the fabric of time and the magic and weed that breathes into life. The hit and the miss, a glance and a glimpse, ripped into strips, words that sat on your lips. It's over and done in the blink of a lens. Before it begun from beginning to end, how we danced till the darkness appeared to come in. The tubes in our hearts took years to untwist. Electricity sparks across hearts, rusted springs, and lips can charge a lot more than you think. When you sing it so softly, yeah. And what's worse is you get me mostly figured out. Well, a shame it was so bad before I could try to explain. The waves that fall washing over this place and we trip and we fall and we like waves that fall, you're drowning me. I can't escape your cold. The waves rushing over the soft and we fall to the earth and we crash and we like waves that fall, you're drowning me. I can't escape your call.
Brilliant stuff, loving that. It's Carla J. Easton featuring Carla J. Easton featuring Dave Hook for Stanley Odd, aka Solar. Let us know in the comments what you thought of that, and if you get any last questions for Carla, now is the time. Now is the time.
You call that radio?
Call that radio.
We're back to the people who hated on me.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute.
That's mad, isn't it?
Is this a Netflix thing?
It's actually a podcast.
What the fuck's a podcast?
You know, it's kind of like a radio show.
Oh, that radio.
Yeah.
And is there a way we can do something like that?
I couldn't help it.
By injection inside or
Yeah, I think so, because I think just paint in general, because I think like my poem is in my painting.
No, cut. As you call that radio, let's just a wee shout out to loads of comments coming in. I'm going to get through all the comments in a second, but go to YouTube. If you're on Facebook, right, Facebook shite, right? I know we're on Facebook when you're watching this. Get off Facebook, go into the youtube.com/ you call that radio. That is where it sounds better. That's where it looks better. And also the same goes for Twitch, which is actually a wee bit better sounding than YouTube. But just get off the Facebook, go on to Twitch. So let's go to YouTube. I want to delete my Facebook, so I'd rather we all went there. It's better for you, it's better for me. And shout out to the Patreons who support the show. You can support the show for a couple of £1 a month. Cheaper than a pint, cheaper than a coffee. At patreon.com/ you call that radio. And by being a Patreon, not only are you helping us build a thing, and we are building a thing, we put a lot of work into this thing, we are building a thing, you also will be in for the raffle that I think we're having on my birthday, which is Tuesday. Tuesday night's my birthday, so I think we're going to have a big mad raffle then. So you can support the show by going to patreon.com. We just heard an absolutely amazing exclusive. You didn't hear it on MTV. You didn't hear it on BBC Radio 1, but you heard it here first on You Call That Radio for Carla J. Easton with Dave Hook. That was brilliant. What an amazing song. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
He's good, isn't he? Dave Hook is really good. Like, I totally agree with what you're saying. An amazing human being. He is actually genuinely sound as fuck. And it's quite rare to get someone who's that good at what he does that isn't actually fooling himself.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, he's so nice and so professional, and like working with him, it's just like he knew exactly what he needed to do and how he was going to do it, and just a really good energy to be around. Really, really love Dave Hook, one of the good guys.
Yeah. Shout out to Solar Eye and check out Stanley Odd and check out Solar Eye's Soul album as well. It's amazing. Okay, let's go through the comments. Carla, I'm going to let you go soon, but can we just go? It's okay to just go through the comments, and then we've got one last song to finish it with.
Okay.
So switch from Twitch to YouTube quality seems to be more or less the same. Yeah, YouTube and Twitch is the same, but they're both a lot better than Facebook. Get the fuck for Facebook. Carla, you're so lovely, says Sharon.
Oh, thank you.
I'm old and set in my ways. No, save Facebook. Fuck Facebook. Soapy, I'm afraid. Tremendous song. Great work again, Carla.
Thank you.
Dave Hay. That was brilliant, Carla. Amazing voice to a contrasting beat. Superb. Soapy also says, brilliant track. So looking forward to the new album. And when is the new album out, Carla?
It's out on the 28th of August, so just over a month to go. I've got one more single coming from it, and then the album comes out.
Amazing. Awesome collaboration, says Nigel Mitchell, live from Los Angeles. Excellent stuff, says Alan. Can it be an exclusive, Johnny? Correct. Yes, says Johnny. James Owens laughing. I've pre-ordered the new album. Can I get it early? Says John.
I think anyone that's pre-ordered the album, Lloyd at Olive Grove Records, is pretty much just going to post it out the week it arrives. And we got emailed from the pressing plant saying that it's going to arrive between the 3rd and 5th of August. So you'll get it quite soon after that, anyone that's pre-ordered.
Just bide your time.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Mackey says, thanks for the shout out, you lovely pair of humans. No. Thank you for making something as cool as Capture Works. Hopefully this will go ahead on the 15th of August, but I think we've got it filled already. But I think if anyone else is wanting to do this live on You Call That Radio at the Capture Works, a live gig for your fans, give me a message. I think we're going to do it once a month because there's so many good bands out there wanting to play their songs. So, yeah, shout outs to you, Mackie. Shout outs to Capture Works. Hey, Carla, my wife, I went down as soon as the show started. What have I missed? What has Jim Monaghan missed?
Everything, Jim. You've missed everything. And nice to see you, Jim.
Missed a lot, Jim. You've missed a lot. He's our grumpy judge when we do poetry slams. Why would you want to be in your car? I tried to get everyone on top of theirs. I think that will happen. That's why I think that you should go to the car shows, the drive-ins, because I think that after the first one, when everyone jumps in their cars, they'll change that rule that you're not allowed to jump in your cars. Because at the moment, there is no rule against
I know. You've got one opportunity to do it.
Right. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. Johnny Sloan says, my favourite thing from lockdown is You Call That Radio, personalised CDs and written stuff from Carla and Empress. Amazing. Shouts to you, Johnny, for supporting and being a patron and generally tuning in. Appreciated. James Owens loving it. Check out the Utensils Cabbage song. Well, I will indeed, Gavin. Well, indeed. I don't know what the context was there, but I will. Make it happen, Mark. Ian McKinnon is of Medicine Men. He may very well be one of the bands at Capture Works on August 15th. I'll tell you more about that later.
I would recommend it, Ian. I think you would enjoy it.
No, definitely. It's just such a buzz to play, and to be honest,
And
I mean,
especially because your albums come out when the Medicine Men album came out during lockdown, did it not? I don't think
yeah,
I could be wrong, maybe, but you didn't do a launch show for
yeah.
it, so yeah, you should totally
This
perform.
is your album launch, and this is another thing, Carla. It's quite good that it's not good, but because of the situation, you're going to launch your album in the midst of a lockdown where you can't play it. But that means when things go back to you can actually have a real gig again, you're going to have a second launch, and everyone will actually know all the words because they'll listen to the album.
Yeah, I know.
Probably 6 months by the time you get to play it properly.
Don't say that, but that's the hope. I hope maybe my album has a second life after lockdown.
What's it? But then you just you come out with a new album, you write a new album, and then you do your album launch in March 2021. And you've got a new album out in May, and they're like, "Wow, she's very consistent. She does an album a month." That's what they'll think for a month.
I know. No, but that's the thing. Like, my manager was like, "Oh, maybe try and write an EP for coming out in January, in case you can tour again, and then people will be interested in the album." But out of sheer boredom, I've written more than an album's worth already. So he's a bit just like, "Stop, have some time out." Yeah.
Great listening to you, Carla, and your chat about music and women in music. Dave Hay says, pre-orders in, Lily can't wait until she gets to listen to it.
Lily cannot listen to track 3 on the album. It's not for young ears.
It's post 9 o'clock, post Watershed.
It's post 9 o'clock. There's a track called Spun Out that is not for young ears.
Not for young ears.
No.
What age, if you were, just imagine, you're living your alternative dimension life of working in Blockbuster Video, and you're in charge of putting the stamp on it. What age can they listen to Spinned Out
at? A 12, maybe.
A 12. It's a 12. A 12.
15. I can't decide.
Depending on who the parent
kids are so old these days. Yeah.
Ian says, cheers, Carla. Always impressed with the power in your voice. New track with Solar Eye sounds massive. It does. It sounds amazing. And
thanks, Ian.
And Dave faces, haha, guaranteed that'll be our favourite.
It's always the case.
It's always the case. I remember, like, parental advisory stickers definitely were a magnet to me to buy albums, but that was Guns N' Roses or the Out Here Brothers. It was just like seeing that thing, that parental advisory.
I mean, even with films, I think I was really like, my favourite film at 4 was Pretty Woman. Not a clue what was going on. Not a clue. Thought it was some sort of Cinderella story. And it's only like watching it like older, I'm like, why was my mum letting me watch that?
I watched Poltergeist when I was about 3 years old. People wonder why I'm not right. I was watching Poltergeist, but I mean, to be fair, that wasn't my parents giving me permission to watch Poltergeist. That was just me figuring out how a VCR
You're just doing it anyway. I know.
I was just watching it. But yeah, it's been amazing to have you, Carla.
Thanks so much for having me.
Let's do one last plug, and then we'll go into a wee conversation about the last song. So if people want to support what you do, how's the best way? And as you say things, I'm going to type them on the screen for people to get involved. So you're on Facebook, you're on Insta. What are you up to?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Spotify. I'm now on SoundCloud. I've got a website where everything is all linked together.
And I've got
called
that already.
CarlaJenniferEaston.com. On my website, there's links to my Bandcamp page, which is brilliant. There's a couple of exclusive digital tracks on my Bandcamp page that aren't anywhere else. Also on my website, you'll see a thing called the Dreamers on the Run fan club. So the Dreamers on the Run fan club has exclusives that will never be released elsewhere. Lovely handmade CDs with Polaroids. Got a limited edition 7-inch crystal clear vinyl of one song, 50 only, and there's some other things going on there. As part of the fan club membership, you get access to my free Zoom tour. I'm doing a Zoom tour. I'm releasing an album. Playlist me. just send me a message. Sign up to my mailing list. I quite often write rambling emails just without editing my thoughts, and it's quite nice when people email me back. You know, community provides positivity. So yeah, just get in touch. Hello, I like making new friends.
Davey says she is everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
Everywhere. It's Carla J. Easton. New album coming out on August the 28th. There's a Zoom tour happening this weekend. So what does that mean? So does that mean someone from Glasgow can't go to the Manchester gig, or are they allowed to go to the Manchester gig? How does that work?
Well, it means if you live in Glasgow and you've always wanted to go to London for a gig, you can from the comfort of your living room.
Do you charge extra for train tickets or anything?
You don't need a train ticket. You don't need overnight accommodation. Like, everything is just the comfort and what you know, but you're kind of in London. Maybe I'll have a nice London backdrop on that date of the tour. But as I say, yeah, London, Broken Chanter is supporting me. That's Dave from Kick and Avro. Great album. And this Friday, it's Sophie from Lemon Drink, who are so good, like Baby Canteen, really excited about them. And then on Saturday is the wonderful Malka and her album, I Am Not Your Soldier. For any of you pop kids out there, indie pop, you will love it. So I'm plugging other people as well as plugging myself, because that's just the kind of person I am.
Well, just Broken Chanter, is it Audrey that still drums?
Drums with, yeah.
Audrey is one of the greatest drummers. Well, I was going to say Scotland's produced, but just anyone's produced. What a drummer.
Oh, Audrey's brilliant. Again, Audrey is a talent and a force to be reckoned with, and also one of the best human beings on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, shout out to Audrey, if you want your music to sound good and get recorded good and mixed and mastered. I actually don't know if she's back open for business yet, but I'm assuming that all the studios are kind of coming back now. They've made some changes and they're coming back. But check out Audrey Tate as a drummer, as a producer, and or getting your music mastered as well. So what I was going to ask you was, the last question of the night is, thank you so much, Carla, for joining us tonight. I know that we're not going to go into it, but you've been through a lot and you're still doing it. So I really respect and appreciate you taking the time to speak to us tonight. So thank you. This last video we're going to play is called Dreamers on the Run. And how, I mean, Aidan Moffat's in it. Explain that.
Well, it was like when devising the video with the guy that made it, and we were doing Dreamers on, doing our take on Eurovision, and just thought, well, who would host Eurovision on TV if it was like BBC Scotland were doing their own version, because Scotland had won the year before. Does that mean we were independent? Perhaps. So and then I thought Aidan Moffat would do it. Aidan Moffat loves pop music. He likes tweeting the Eurovision. So I just sort of like mentioned it. I sent an email to Aidan, got his email address off someone. You ask around, you get these things. And he got back to me saying, I love Eurovision. I'd be more than happy to do it. And then I just sat back and waited to see what would happen. And it's just the right amount of Aidan Moffat smut that we all love.
Well, that's it. Aidan Moffat's, well, first of all, one of my, I would imagine that I wouldn't have, we're talking earlier on about singing in your own voice. I doubt that may have happened to me had it not been for an NME CD that when I was a wee guy, I heard, and it was Aidan Moffat. I was going to recreate the lyrics, but, I didn't shag her, she slept in the couch in the kitchen. And I remember that was the first line, and I was just like, wow, what is this? And it's for Falkirk, and just hearing that voice. And that was around about the same time as original Pirate Material by The Streets. And I was just thinking, you can just talk in your own voice. I think both of those things had the same profound effect, and just be yourself. So love Arab Strap, love Aidan Moffat, and also on Twitter, I knew that he loved pop before he said he loves Eurovision, because he does. I think he's the thing, like, I don't know if it was Pop Saturday or like Pop Night, but he used to just tweet like some of the best cheesy pop songs ever, which was funny about that is because he is like quite a serious underground, independent, like weird artist, writer, lyricist, one of the best. So for him to enjoy the most ridiculous pop music ever is actually really entertaining. To me, that's really entertaining because it's not how you would imagine him, but him tweeting all the pop songs just made things okay when I was on Twitter every so often. But like, he's just tweeted, like I don't know, an S Club 7 song. Sorry, Aidan, if you don't actually like S Club 7, but it's quite a weird thing. So yeah, what were you got to say about that?
I'm with Aidan. I remember that he tweeted his appreciation for Girls Aloud, and I stand with him on that. Like, the writing team behind Girls Aloud is Xenomania, and I would say they're like the modern day Brill Building writers, but I overthink these things quite a lot. But do you know what? I think, see, if you don't like ABBA, what's wrong with you? Everyone has room in their life for ABBA. It's okay to like pop. Aidan says so. It's fine. Pop is not a dirty word. There's many different bits of it. Just find the bit that you like, And yeah, I went to see Cher last year, and it was incredible. It was just one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Really touching in parts. She did the duet with Sunny using some like video footage and stuff, and that woman is incredible. 73. And just
73?
73.
Wow.
Still belting out the songs, and you just forget how many hits that she's had and how many decades her career spanned. And it's Cher. I mean, it's fucking Cher, What a legend.
Before we do that, other pop stars, like, what about Dolly Parton?
Do you know, Dolly Parton's someone that I need to listen to more. I don't really know that much of her back catalogue, and it's extensive, but I mind when she played Glastonbury a few years ago and watching it and just being like, wow, that is someone that knows exactly what they're doing and is at the top of their game and just nailing every second of that performance. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. What about Blondie, Debbie Harry?
Debbie Harry, voice of an angel, really, like an iron fist in a velvet glove.
This is like pop quiz, pop quiz. Not also away from pop, but still a wee bit in there. Shirley Manson, what do you make of Shirley Manson?
Shirley Manson's just cool as fuck. I remember being quite into Garbage around what was the album again? It was like a cardboard CD in the shape of a rose, and it kind of folded out. And they had that song that went like, "You're such a delicate boy." Da, da, da. It was a bit more pop actually, but yeah, no, great, really great. I love Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been amazing, Carla. Good luck with the new album. So, with that gig you recorded at Capture Works, how can people see that?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with that yet. I'm just so excited to get it back.
One more shout out for Capture Works. Right, basically, we're going to do a live show on 15th of August. So if any bands want to get involved, message me. We'll make it happen. You get to play. We're going to live stream it all through. And we just hope that people will support us, because it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of people involved to make it look as good and sound as good as it is. So, yeah, shout outs to Capture Works one more time. This song right now, featuring Aidan Moffat, I remember watching it, and I was just, the first time I seen it, I was like, wow, this is an amazing video. Who did the video? And give it a wee introduction, and then we'll call it quits.
So it's my friend Ross made the video, and yeah, it's Dreamers on the Run. And so the song's sort of like, in my head, an end of the night bar is shutting song, like we've all made it together, kind of like we faced down our fears and all that, and decided to do a take on Eurovision. So I am representing Scotland at Eurovision. The Eurovision is taking place at the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow. We don't really know the time or place, but because we're hosting it, Scotland has won it the year before. So can we do it for another year in a row? Here's hoping so.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? We'll find out. We're about to find out in the video, and if you've got any comments on the video, then just leave them in the comments, and we'll bring it up on the screen during the show. Check out Carla. The best way to check out Carla, she's everywhere. But check out the CarlaJenniferEaston.com/live if you want to go to the Zoom tour. If you want to go to London, this is your chance. There's never been a cheaper flight than this website. This is the cheapest flight. Thank you very much. And let's go to Dreamers on the Run, Carla J. Easton featuring Aidan Moffat.
Well,
I like the way it starts with a
that
crowd
was certainly
clapping.
an eye-opener.
Thank you, Carla.
And indeed.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Finally, it's time for the host nation's entry. Bonnie Scotland. Can we make it 2 in a row? I do hope so. Otherwise, my local bookie will be very pleased. Representing Scotland tonight is Carla J. Easton. And here she is, taking us on a wee tour of the dear green place itself, the city of Glasgow, where you can find any sort of bonnet to suit your needs. And of course, here she is celebrating one of Scotland's favourite hobbies. And I expect, yes, here we are, Wellington, with his perpetually daft hat in a city that's deeply proud of its vandalism. And a wee sip of her national drink there. And here she is at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall tonight, representing last year's winner, of course. Can we do it again? I rather think we can. Carla J. Easton with a song about dreaming.
We face down our fears with a smile. Chase bad demons into exile. We studied the sun for the night and we won. We faced down our fears with a smile. We honeyed the hurt that was caused, sweetened the lines that were crossed. We hid all those lies in our wide dark eyes to honey the hurt that was caused. And we know we'll never make it, 'cause where we are feeling is caught up in dreaming. We burned every bridge that was made. Our island was bliss in the shade, a kingdom for two, defiant and true. We burned every bridge that we made. And we know we'll never make it, 'cause where we are feeling is caught up in dreaming. I'll never see you again, 'cause stories don't come to an end. Battles we fought will run deep in my blood. And I cherish you dearly, my friend.
Carla J. Easton there, with Dreamers on the Run. Brief, but very beautiful, just like all the best romances, I'm sure you'll agree. And I think, judging by the reaction, we could be on to a winner here tonight.
Brilliant stuff from Carla J. Easton featuring Aidan Moffat. I just want to invite you back here tomorrow night. We've got Audacity. Audacity. This is a picture of him. He fell asleep quite recently at a house party. And he doesn't mind me using that as his picture because that's just the way Audacity is. A very funny man, a great rapper, grime, hip-hop guy, and very, 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 very funny on social media. We'll be talking about mental health in a real way. That's tomorrow night, Audacity. On Thursday, we've got Yvonne McClellan. Yvonne is an absolute legend in the music industry. She's done so much for so many. Tune in Thursday to find out her story. Also, if you're into environmentally friendly stuff or animal stuff, she's the one. Yvonne McClellan, legend. on Thursday. Thanks to Carla for joining us tonight. It's been amazing. Check out our new album, check out our website, and also I just thought I would come back on one more time to play something else for Scheme, because today was the day that Denny Oliver made his last journey from Easterhouse to Dildowie via the Barrowlands, and it was beautiful to see so many people out at the bars and the bars for turning the lights on, for an absolute legend to change the music scene for so many, especially the working class in Glasgow. So I thought we'd end it one more time with CND Live. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Carla. We will see you tomorrow. And if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/You Call That Radio. Thank you. Good night. See you tomorrow, 7 o'clock.
Changing position in the walking. Sing up. We cannot understand indifference to life. You measure your power in the land. Oh yeah, yeah. So what we can pay to live without fear, choose our own destiny, fight for CND. You sing, CND can make what we feel this armament. Just to be that louder, to be carefree. All right. No. Taking positions. What did he say? No nuclear. Say no nuclear. Say no nuclear. Say no nuclear. Protesting survives. Hello. Brilliant. It's classic.
Brothers and sisters.
Is that you, Daniel? Are you before me?
You call that radio?
Hello? Yes, this is Dog.
Call that radio!